Dr. Brandon.
Dr. Morgentaler.
It's another episode of the Sex Doctors podcast. And, oh my God, what are we going to talk about today?
Oh, today we're going to talk about one of the most common reasons people come to sex therapy.
Huh.
What do you think that could be?
I think they're not having sex.
Well, yeah. I mean, or according to one of the two people, they're not having enough.
Yeah. I was going to say, according to one of them, they may not be having sex at all. And the other one says we have it all the time.
That's right. I hear that a lot. Actually, one of the funny things. So we're talking about desire discrepancy.
Right.
Okay.
Before we start, a small disclaimer. The Sex Doctors podcast is not a substitute for medical or psychological advice.
So one of the funny things that I learned early on as a sex therapist is people won't even agree on the last time they had sex. And when I first started as a couples therapist, this was astounding to me.
Yeah.
Because you know when you're having sex, like to me, that's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But somehow people would be like, we had sex last Sunday. No, we didn't have sex last Sunday. Like people would say this.
Oh my God.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So your facts aren't my facts. Your truth isn't my truth.
Right.
Yeah.
Down to, did sex happen?
Wait a second. You called that sex?
So anyway, so what's true is most couples struggle with desire discrepancy. It's just so typical. But that doesn't make it like not very challenging for couples or damaging to a relationship if it's not addressed.
Right. And just to put this in everyday terms, desire discrepancy is somebody wants it more than the other person.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, that is, we're going to call it desire discrepancy.
There you have it.
All right. So, so that's one of the most common things you see, or the most common.
I think you could say one of the most common.
Let's be definitive. That was the most common.
Yeah. Let's go with that. But it's, so, and people do two main mistakes with it. One is they ignore it.
Yeah. Thinking
it's just going to get better with time.
Yeah.
And then it goes on and things get worse.
Right.
Or they think, they can kind of organically come out of it without a plan.
Yeah.
And they have an argument and they say, okay, we're going to take care of this. But then nothing changes.
Yeah.
So I hear both of those all the time.
Yeah. I would imagine that after the initial throes of lust in a new relationship where, it's possible that both parts of the couple want it most of the time, whenever convenient, right? That's only going to happen for a limited period of time. Then people have work to do. They got responsibilities,
right.
Jobs, people to take care of. That once that passes, there's got to be some difference, just like people are never identical heights or weights or anything like that.
Absolutely.
So there's always a certain amount of difference. And I would think that if that difference isn't huge, maybe it's not that big a problem, right? Like if somebody wants sex 3 times a week and the other person wants it twice a week, you might get by. But I think by the time they come to see you, there's a problem. And I would imagine that the person who wants sex more might end up feeling a little resentful that it's not happening.
Yeah, well, everybody feels resentful. By the time they get to usually they're not dealing with it or not dealing with it in a way that's effective. So by the time they get to my office, everybody's pissed off.
The person who wants it less, why are they resentful?
Well, because they feel like the demands are so high and they feel like it's never enough.
It's never enough.
Yeah. And they feel like their partner doesn't sort of appreciate how much they're doing in the world and, don't have the energy or whatever. I mean, everybody's got legitimate reasons for why they're feeling how they're feeling. That's one of the challenging things is nobody's wrong. Yeah. Nobody's right. It's just very difficult for people to get in sync around this stuff.
Yeah. Although I bet everybody thinks they're right.
Yeah. Well, because they are, you know what I mean? And in a certain way, everybody's right. Well, that's what's true. So often my role is kind of to help people find a middle ground where everybody can live with, the situation.
Right.
But
because as professionals, we can say there's no exact number that's right.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
there's no exact number, but you know what? Personally, what I try to encourage people to do is once or twice a week.
Yeah.
Because when it gets, sort of extended past that, it gets more difficult for people to kind of like maintain that kind of like romantic connection that they need in order to have good sex.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's a little bit like golf.
Is it?
Because if you haven't played for a week,
okay,
let's say it's every 2 weeks, it's as if you haven't played at all.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. So
like,
so
the guys say, I can't even remember the last time I played. Like I'm, and then they get a pass, right? And then they play badly. They say, well, I just haven't played.
Mm-hmm.
It's been forever,
mm-hmm.
right? I think sex is like that.
You know what? I think that's good. We'll go with it.
Yeah. If it's been too long, it's like, you don't expect me to be great here.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. In golf, it's the short game often that suffers. And I don't know if there's an analogy to sex.
A short game?
Yeah. That's like around the green, like the putting, the chipping.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
No. Well, if I may I?
Please.
Yeah. I would think that it's that when couples are in rhythm and in sync and they're having sex on a certain frequency, it still may not be what the higher desire person wants,
mm-hmm.
but if it's happening on a regular basis, like going back to your suggestion of once or twice a week at a minimum,
mm-hmm.
like at least there's a sense that you're in the rhythm, you're in the flow. Right. You can, if you try something new, it's new compared to the last time, and it's not new compared to, well, it's like the golf analogy again. If you haven't done it in a long time, it's like everything feels like it's new and starting over.
Right. So because of what you're saying, to me, the most important piece of the puzzle is scheduling sex. Everybody agrees on a frequency and you get it in the schedule. Now, most people hate that idea.
Yeah, I bet you get a lot of pushback.
I get a lot of pushback.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If it doesn't get scheduled, it's not going to happen. And then they're going to be back in my office and they're not going to feel like things got any better.
So what do you do with the people? I bet this could be both partners. They say, geez, scheduled sex. Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sex is supposed to be spontaneous. It's an act of loving. It's an act of lust.
Right.
One of the above. I want sex to feel natural.
Right. So what I say to them, so if this is the higher desire partner saying that, I say to them, you're going to find that your lower desire partner, the person who wants it less, is going to be more invested in sex and more involved because they have awareness of when it's going to happen so that they can prepare. Because the analogy I make for the lower desire partner is it's like going out and running like 4 miles. Sex takes energy for a lower desire partner. Doesn't mean they don't like it. They like to go for a run, but they can't just spontaneously go for a run if they weren't planning on it. They have to make sure their energy is right. They haven't had too much food or they've had the right amount of food, all that stuff.
Right.
The weather's got to be good. You know what I mean? You plan it.
Yeah.
You plan your run and you have a great run, right? You don't
Yeah.
plan your run, it's going to suck. So that's how sex is for the lower desire partner. So if it's planned, they can prepare and have what they need sort of in terms of energy. So it's going to be a much better experience.
I love that analogy.
Yeah. It's true.
Because nobody would just say, oh, let's go for a run now, right?
Right.
You'd say, I got to make sure that I'm caught up with whatever my emails. I got to make sure the kids are okay. I got to make sure the stove isn't on.
Yeah.
Right. I want to I might have a routine before I get started.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's that. So if the lower desire partner says they don't like to schedule it, I'll let them play that out a little bit, but it won't work. So what's going to happen is if they're in my office because they're struggling with low desire, nothing's going to change. I can almost guarantee them if they don't get it on a schedule because they've tried already and they've had arguments and it still hasn't happened. And so I say to them, you're kind of wasting your money if you're not willing to get it on the schedule.
Yeah.
So that's really what's true.
So, okay. So let's say they do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put on the schedule. A couple comes back and one, or maybe both, one of them says to you, all right, we did it, Dr. Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
We did it your way.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it really sticks in my craw to have to schedule this.
Well, I don't really hear that.
You don't?
No.
Well, that's important to hear.
So here's the thing. So it's...
Hold on. Dear viewers and listeners. this is important information because I just want to say there's a lot of talk out there.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the beauty of having my beautiful wife, Dr. Marian Brandon, on this show is that this isn't theoretical. It's not textbook. It's that this is clinical experience. And I can tell you that as a urologist, I read a lot of stuff that's just total BS, right?
Well, we all read.
Yeah. And the clinical experience is different. You can often tell when somebody's speaking.
That's right.
They're some of the best academicians. They're brilliant. They've done the research articles and they start talking about how you're supposed to apply and they don't know the first thing. And I know in 20 seconds that this guy or this woman has treated almost no patients.
Right.
So
right.
Let me just come back. That's a big compliment to you, but it's an important feature of what we're talking about. So this is news to me. Your clients don't tell you do this routinely with your clients.
Yeah.
And you don't hear that back as a problem.
I don't, but so let me tell you what, it's not just scheduling sex that happens. First of all, we have to agree on how much sex is being scheduled. So I aim for once or twice a week.
Great.
Generally, no more than that, then the lower desire partner is too taxed and it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
But not less than once a week because like we talked about, too much time between to keep sort of the mojo
You got the mojo flow.
Right. But also, it's not just scheduling sex, but you have to take turns initiating. So we get it on the schedule.
Whoa. Hold on. This is an important point. Say that again, please.
So you have to take turns initiating.
Take turns initiating.
Yeah. So I assign every other event, to one person.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what that does is somebody's responsible for making sure the sex is good. It's not just sex, but it's good sex. So
wait.
down the line for that.
Wait.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Just because somebody initiates doesn't mean it's going to be good sex.
No, but we talk about how to make sex good. So it's not like they're, unaware.
Oh, your clients get a lot from you.
Well, it's necessary. You're not going to want sex if it's not good. You're not boring sex.
No.
You're not going to have a good time.
Yeah. So wait a second. So we've touched on 3 things already. I'm at the age where it's very dangerous to say 3 things because sometimes you get to the third one.
You don't remember what it was. Yeah.
Okay. One is you need a minimum amount of frequency.
Right.
Right. Which is
a compromise.
At least once or twice a week is a minimum.
Right.
Second is you're asking them to alternate who does the initiating. So both partners are involved. And then before I forget what my third thing is. And the third thing is about good sex. So can you say something about what makes it good and how do you try and help your clients figure that out?
Well, so we're missing some of the nuances here. Okay. So what happens if we don't have people take responsibility and be the initiator, then no one initiates. So the decision might be we're having sex on Saturday nights, every Saturday night. Okay. But then what's going to happen is people are going to be on Saturday night looking at each other, reading each other. Do they really want to have sex? Maybe they don't. And I'm going to wait for them to initiate and they don't initiate. And then the couple goes to bed, it never happened. Right. So then they come back to my office, they didn't have sex. Well, why? Well, it was on the schedule for Saturday night, but I wasn't sure she was into it. And she says, well, I was waiting for him to come on to me. And this happens all the time. So that's why you have to cover it so carefully, like every little piece of it. So you can't just say every Saturday night.
Yeah.
You have to say who's in charge of initiating.
This is like a game plan for a football game.
Well, it works. So that's the thing. The beautiful thing about
this is decide if you're going to emphasize your passing game, your running game. Special teams is going to come in there. Right. You got a whole thing going on here.
Okay.
So, wow.
So if it's your turn to initiate on Saturday night, then it's your call when sex happens. Now, sometimes the lower desire partner prefers to be in charge all the time for initiating. And if that's the case, generally the higher desire partner has no problem with it.
Right.
Okay.
I can see that.
And so sometimes the lower desire partner really does want it to be right. And so they'll just make that decision, but it's their responsibility to do it. They can't ignore it.
Let me ask you a question. So what you're describing is, so I can imagine it gets probably pretty heated between a couple when the desire discrepancy has been a real problem, right?
Oh, for
People
sure.
come in, they
break up marriages.
Absolutely. I get that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're describing here the lower desire partner, and just as an aside, we're not saying men or women because it can go either way, right? And that's assuming a heterosexual couple, right? It's not necessarily the guy, it's not necessarily the woman,
Right.
But you're implying or suggesting that the lower desire partner is on board.
Yeah.
But it must happen. It's got to happen that you have somebody who says, I don't really want to be having sex.
Oh, absolutely.
So and that's part of the discrepancy, right? I mean, if somebody doesn't want to be having sex with their partner, you're going to have a discrepancy. Like there's going to be some imbalance there. So what do you do with that?
Well, then it's a different therapy. It's does the higher desire partner want to stay in the marriage? And is there any flexibility in terms of the marriage contract so that, is there like a don't ask, don't tell, so that when somebody travels, they can do what they feel like they need to do and come home and not talk about it. So, sometimes it then becomes up to the higher desire partner whether or not they're going to stay.
That's so interesting to me that you mentioned that the higher desire partner has a decision to make, but which isn't obvious to me. I thought you were going to say that the lower desire partner might be the one, not lower desire, the one who doesn't want to have sex might be the one that's got a foot out the door already.
Oh, that could be. That could be. And this could be a conversation that made it to my therapy room that's really about ending the marriage. That could be. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So when we're talking about desire discrepancy, but not like I will not have sex with my partner.
So the lower desire partner has to, here's another piece of it. There's a lot of pieces. The lower desire partner has to see what's in it for them to have sex. Like they can't just be thinking I'm servicing my partner.
Yeah.
They have to find what's in it for them. Otherwise, they're just going to get pissed off.
Yeah. Can you say something about that?
Yeah. So, but
how do you help somebody? So somebody says, I just feel like I'm just taking care of his or her needs.
Oh, this is never going to work. Right.
Right.
You've got to.
How do you help them understand there's more to this?
Oh my God. Because there's so many great reasons to have sex. It doesn't mean you have to have a libido.
You hear this, people? There's so many reasons to have sex. Go ahead, Dr. Brandon.
So, like for people who can't find a good reason within their own body to have sex, what about the connection they feel with their partner when they're having sex? If they say to me they don't feel a connection, well, then we talk about how to make love. Then we need to, sort of focus on what does that mean to have a connection during sex?
Somebody says, though, I just don't feel it. Like, I don't have desire. Why do I have to do this?
So if they don't want the connection with their partner and it's not about feeling good because they're making their partner feel good, if they can't find any of that, I'm not sure there's a lot of glue there.
I'm going to go back to what you said because I don't want to step over this.
Yeah.
What I heard you saying, but although in a backwards way, is that one of the reasons can be to make your partner feel good.
Yeah, and that could feel really good to you. Like when you're giving a present, it feels good to give a present.
Great. I love that analogy, but I think that that's important, and I don't want to just go past that too quickly, because I think that we live in an age where people are so focused on themselves.
Yeah.
That it almost doesn't occur to them that there's something to be gained.
Yeah.
That there's something that they gain.
Right.
By the act of giving.
It's loving. So it's the act of loving.
Yeah.
I mean, what's more important in the world than loving and loving our partner well? And if you have a partner that interprets love through sex, that's a loving gift.
Yeah. There's a quote that I don't really remember. I don't remember it, but it's about how love is an active verb. Right?
That's nice. Yeah.
It's not just that you have a feeling of love, like, oh, I am experiencing love, but that love is something that you actually do something about. Yeah. So there's an act of giving, and that can feel good for the person giving.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just to make their other partner feel good.
Exactly.
Yeah. Love that. Okay. I'm glad we covered that.
Right. Okay. So I think what we were talking about is someone's responsible for initiating.
Yeah.
And so the person that's responsible for initiating does the literal initiation. So that's another thing we talk about is how do people like sex initiated?
Yeah.
Because so often the way one person does it, the other person hates it.
I think this is human sexuality 101 right here, right now.
It's critically important. So I can't, most of the time when we talk about initiation in the room, in my therapy room, I ask them how they initiate and be like, well, she rubs my arm. I'm like, okay, does that turn you on? No. I mean, I don't mean to laugh. I mean, people don't talk about it, and they don't. So it happens.
If we can't laugh about this, we got nothing to laugh about in the whole world.
The thing is, it's hard for everybody because at the beginning of a relationship, these challenges don't exist. Generally, sex flows. Nobody's reading the other person. Do they want to have sex? And touch works because this is a new partner, and it's exciting and. So any touch works.
Right.
So somewhere they go from that to how do I start this thing?
Right.
And it gets confusing for people. So we talk through how do you like sex to be initiated? And we find, again, sometimes it needs to be a compromise because one person wants it initiated in a certain way, the other person isn't comfortable. That's fine. We find the compromise that works for everybody.
Incredible that you have these conversations because I think that one of the things that is most difficult for couples to talk about is sex, including the very nitty gritty that we're talking about here, right?
Right.
How do you like sex initiated?
Yeah.
I think people have this idea it should just be like they should know, they should be able to read my mind. Is it complicated? I've seen movies, I've read books.
Yeah. Right? The other problem here, is that it feels vulnerable to initiate. Mm-hmm. So people have a hard time initiating in an obvious way because that means they're sort of putting themselves out there for rejection or shame.
Yeah.
So if it's the lower desire partner and they're expecting not to be rejected, it's their time to initiate, they're still afraid of making a fool of themselves in their own mind by being more blatantly sexual. Yeah. So if they're not worried about being rejected, they're worried about being shamed. And these are emotions that are very deep and painful. Yeah. So initiation is tricky.
Absolutely. And that's part of the reason people don't talk about any of this stuff. Right. It all feels tricky. It all feels vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And it also, in a bizarre way, I think we have this idea that it should be natural in the sense that it should just be automatic. Right. This works. Right. And it's not.
It's not.
No, it's complicated. And and people who've had partners in the past may think that they already know what they're doing. And they may have a partner who, whatever worked in the past with their partners, doesn't work with this partner.
Right. Or this partner at this age.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Somebody thinks, I am a great lover. I know exactly what I'm doing, but whatever I'm doing doesn't work for him or her.
Right. Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah. So. And those are conversations that are really important to sort of talk through, but often really scary for couples to do on their own. So that's where a therapist can be helpful.
Wow. This is fantastic. All right. Anything else you want to say about desire discrepancy?
I would say that it is important that the sex is good. So we got the sex scheduled.
Yeah, so
we got the sex initiated.
Yeah.
But now, how does the sex get good?
Right. How does it get? Yeah. How does it get good? Doctor?
Well, so that's going to be hard to say in a few minutes here.
Anybody can do it.
So basically, the sex is good because the vibe is good.
Oh, vibe.
Yeah, the vibe.
Yeah.
I don't know,
but you know this. But I have a cat.
Yeah. You're right. Right.
And that cat goes to the food.
Yeah.
There's a bowl with its food.
Yeah.
And it'll approach.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's going to eat.
Yeah. And we get very excited about that.
And then sometimes something happens and it turns away from the bowl.
Right.
And what do we say? We say the vibe was off.
The vibe was off.
Right?
For sure.
Yeah.
So we try so hard to be quiet to keep the vibe in the room, just as it was.
Don't breathe.
No.
Don't breathe. He's going for the food.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we want him to eat. He's a little skinny.
He's a little skinny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the vibe. And so the vibe is nonverbals. And again, a good vibe, bringing a good vibe into the bedroom makes people feel embarrassed or vulnerable. So,
Wait. A good vibe makes people feel, well, say more. I'm not sure I follow. A good vibe makes people feel vulnerable. Say more.
Right. Because a good sexual, sensual vibe means you're showing up in your face, you're showing passion, you're showing seduction, you're showing your sexuality more blatantly.
Got it.
That's a good vibe that you bring, like you're offering your body and your being in a sensual way. And that's a good vibe, as opposed to like showing up like you're, gonna do the dishes.
Right.
No vulnerability in that. So much less in their mind's risk of rejection.
Right.
But that's not going to result for anybody in a particularly positive sexual experience.
Right.
For the person that's kind of flat, or their partner, like it's not going to be.
So let's go back. I want to stay on that, but I want to bring in something we talked about before, which is the lower desire partner, right? Mm-hmm. So that partner may not be having sex because they have lust in their heart, right? They're doing this.
Right.
They've come to you. They're having sex more often. Let's say it's Saturday night and they don't particularly want to, but they're committed to their partner. Mm-hmm. They're going to try and bring it. Mm-hmm. But the truth is they're not that into it. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. How does that person bring that good vibe if they're not that into it?
So, sometimes we can find a sexual vibe that they've had in the past and work with that and help that person feel it again. So just because they show up in my office and say they don't have that does not mean that they don't have that. It just means they haven't had access to it in a long time. So we do try to find that. And oftentimes they can find that, who they were sexually when they did feel like the vibe was there for them. And how can we create that now? But if they can't get to that, then we work on a loving vibe. So then it goes to their heart and feeling love for their partner, appreciation and gratitude, thinking of how their partner has changed their life and wanting to demonstrate that to their partner. So it's a loving vibe.
I love that. Dr. Brandon, you're the best. Well,
yeah,
I think that's it for today.
Right.
There was an awful lot in there. And wow, it's like, it really is. Human Sexuality 101. That was superb.
So here's the thing. If you have low desire, you got to talk about it. It's not just or not low desire. If you have desire discrepancy, it's unlikely to just fix itself. And you're going to likely get yourself in a pattern of arguing and then nothing changes, and then arguing and nothing changes.
Oh, yeah.
You need a plan.
Yeah.
And that's what this was.
So before we wrap up, I want to ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
So you've talked about what happens when a couple comes to see you as a sex therapist in the office. Mm-hmm. Not everybody's going to see a sex therapist. There's some people who are going to be watching this, listening to this, who mm-hmm. are recognizing this problem because it's incredibly common.
Right.
What recommendations would you give for people listening to this who want to integrate some of what you described in their own life mm-hmm. and their own relationships without necessarily needing to go to a therapist?
So I would use this video. I would have, personally, what I'd say to them is, you guys each watch the video alone first, like absorb it on your own. So what's about to, you're going to hear together, and it's not going to throw you off. Like you've heard it all, but then you watch it together and you play it a little bit, then you stop it. What did you think of that? How do you feel about that? Do you relate to that? Mm-hmm. And, take however long you need to get through the video, but use these as talking points. And you're going to get very far if you do that.
Love it. Well, thus ends another episode of The Sex Doctors. You can find us at thesexdoctorspodcast.com. And what should they do, Dr. Brandon?
They should subscribe. Yes, they should
subscribe. Give us a review, a good review, thumbs up. Write a comment if this has moved you in any way. We're always interested to hear what people think of all this. And if you subscribe, you will not miss any of this dynamic content that you can't get anywhere else, at least not with the two of us.
That's right.
So until then, we bid you adieu. Bye-bye.